I gotta get. Okay. Go ahead, go.
You're listening to WKDW Radio 97.5 and KDWRadio.com, broadcasting from the Bishop West Real Estate Mobile Tower right here in City Hall in Northport, Florida.
Woohoo!
And I've got actually one of my favorite out of five, Jill
Oh,
Luke
you
in the
can't
house.
say that.
Well, I can't say
No,
that
you
because I say
cannot
that
say
to every
that.
one of you that
Yeah.
come on.
Nobody's
So
gonna believe you.
listen,
Nobody.
all five of you guys are my favorites because you're so dedicated to
We
the
have a
city.
great commission.
You do.
I mean,
You do.
great mix of people, personality, likes, dislikes. I mean, it's just awesome. Good group.
So there's a lot of stuff happening in the city of Northport.
There has been a lot of stuff happening
The
in the
growth,
city.
everything.
We're in the news for good and bad reasons. We're just in the news.
I went on Christmas vacation and I started check marking those boxes, good and bad. You're correct.
Yes, it's good
Because
and bad.
people who are up north now, who have never heard of Northport before, seem to learn about us last year in depth.
I wonder why.
I have no clue. But it's good. It's good, bad, and ugly.
It is
sometimes. But anytime a city grows, I think
it happens.
It happens
because you are growing, and those things come about. In the larger the city, the more things that happen.
Right.
We better get used to it because we're headed to 250,000 before we're done.
We're gonna hit that target pretty quick at the rate we're going.
I hope not.
Oh my gosh!
I hope it's going to spread a little.
In 22 years, we've surpassed any number I thought we were going to hit.
Oh, really?
I myself, yes. Especially when we hit the economic downturn.
I didn't know you were a doubter.
I'm not a doubter. When you hit the economic downturn, and you kind of slam on your brakes from growth, it kind of puts a realization of, oh crap, what if it happens again? And I get that asked all the time now that I'm a realtor, and I keep trying to tell everyone we're not in that same time frame.
No, it's different.
And as a city commissioner, you had to deal with things after the last economic downturn.
Yes.
But you were here for the last economic downturn.
Yes.
As a citizen. And
as a business.
Yes.
Yes.
And so you've seen that transition, and just kind of clarifying with you the indicators that you're seeing today.
It's not stopping.
No, it is not stopping.
It is not going to stop. I don't care. Some other state somewhere else might have a downturn or something. We will not be seeing it. I've listened to the economic and the demographic experts, and they're coming to Florida. I mean, part of the reason definitely was we went through COVID and we were a state that was more open. So people want to live. People want to enjoy, and they come down for vacations and found this to be a great state, great environment, great people. The business are seeing no taxes, and it's we are number one on the target, I believe, to move to.
The city of Northport as a whole, and you just brought up the famous word taxes. The city of Northport as a whole, our taxes are pretty controlled.
Oh yes, yeah, we are compared to other cities that are like us. We are on the lower end, not the lowest, but
a lower end.
The lower end, not even halfway. We are on the lower end of it.
So you kind of put some perspective on decision making when you're moving, and we did that when we moved here. We started out in Inglewood over on the beach, and then we went up into Sarasota, and that's 22 years ago. We've seen a lot of change in 22 years, but there's a lot of consistencies too, because Northport has never had this big movement on higher taxes. It's always been a working class community that I think it's like 80% of us drive away to go to work.
Actually, 90.
90. We don't have a lot of industry here yet. But we have a lot of business. It's coming. But we have a lot of individual business owners that are here that still, drive away to go to work. Yeah. So it applies. What do you see as the next big issue that Northport needs to tackle right away? We've talked about
Well, I want
this
to go
year. Go
back.
ahead.
I
Go
want to
ahead.
go back to something that you said, and that is the mentality of our city. Uh, you pretty much talk to anybody in the city, they don't mind growing because growing brings amenities and things to do, so they don't mind that. But they love that small town feeling. They don't want to be in Sarasota
Right.
at the city seat. They
Agreed.
want to be slower pace, not that traffic, you know. They'll drive up there. If they wanted to live there or in that type of environment, they would move.
Right.
But they love the small town feeling, that still that connection that we have with one another.
And last I checked, we were third or fifth largest landmass city in the state.
We're eighth.
Eighth. Okay. So eighth largest landmass city in the state. How many cities?
410.
How about that? She knew the answer. 410, and we're eighth.
Yeah.
So we're mid to lower on taxes, and we're at the top as far as landmass. And I think we're at the top as far as largest city, small town feel.
I definitely do, and that is part of the reason that we have gained some of our residents that we have looking for that. Now, I will state that during all that growth and expansion, because the city started out in 1959 only 5.5 square miles.
Woo!
We've got 105 now.
Right.
They neglected the infrastructure.
Well, yeah, we
mean,
don't
they-
really have the grid system, do we?
No, and so that is some of the decisions that we have had to make on the dais, how to get us not only through that recession, but to pick up where all this growth was going on and it wasn't expanding the services. An incorporated city is one that people choose to go to for the amenities, and generally that is the service of water, sewer, uh, those types of services. It, you know, you're in real estate. If a house that's in an incorporated city, values higher.
Yep.
You know, rather than out in the country, there are property standards within cities, so it elevates the value of the house. They didn't prep for that.
Right.
So we are muddling through, and I know COVID thing, we don't even like to say the
Right.
word, but some of the outcome of the monies we have been receiving are really helping us with getting that infrastructure where it needs to be.
And those were designed to do exactly that, though, right?
They were.
To try to help the cities get back to going and get things moving again.
They were.
And I'm going to say we are blessed in the state of Florida because we were shut down for a really relatively small period
to some others, right?
And we've been like nonstop open after that, where there has been zero hesitation on shutdown. Now,
until recently, there's been, but it's not really a fear the way it was before the vaccine and stuff, because we were afraid of the virus.
Right.
Now people are getting sick and not able to go to work.
Right.
So
it's a different.
Exactly. They're shut down because they don't have the staff, or they're afraid of their staff dwindling so much that they can't produce their product.
But that has actually happened here at City Hall.
Yes.
And you know, so City Hall is like service oriented.
Very much so. That's what a city is.
That is what a city. You know, it's there and it's working forward. And the funny thing is I think people think about that sort of thing, but they forget sometimes there's some adjustments being made behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And cities have to do a lot of times what businesses have to do.
Oh, definitely. I mean, we're a government, but you operate very similar to a business. And you will rotate people in, keep the others at home. I mean, not everybody is at home. It's not completely shut down. They will rotate people in. They may not be able to be serviced at the desk, but they can in the drive-through until we can get through this. latest. That is just making people sick all at once, and you can't operate or work when everybody's sick at home.
But all those things that you just mentioned, they started doing those things almost instantaneous with the shutdown. They tried to figure out how to adapt City Hall to be no contact.
Those were really weird times. When you think of emergencies, you think of, hurricane, right off the
Tornado,
bat, hurricane,
whatever.
tornadoes, the bad storms, flood, those types of things. You don't think about sicknesses. You
Right.
don't think about.
It's been a long time since we had a pandemic.
Yeah, like
not my lifetime.
Like 100 years.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Not quite that old.
Yeah, well, I've had no. So it's fun to play armchair quarterback and look backwards sometimes and see what you've been through in life. I don't know that anybody wants to replay that again, but at the same time, the decisions that cities had to make, you're not talking federal decisions, you're talking local. How do we keep cities moving forward? You guys had to make a lot of decisions.
This city did not exist when the last
correct
pandemic went through. So those types of things were not put within the framework. They're there now. I mean, especially our EMS fire department and those first responders really put the things in place that will help us through any emergency. We will be able to respond to them far better because we're thinking outside that box.
Yeah.
I mean, our thinking was in tornado and flooding and stuff like that. Not anymore.
Right.
We're able to be flexible.
And so when you're doing all these things, and we're just happen to be sitting in Jill Luke's office, you can answer that if you like.
Let me go.
So when you're going through things like this, cities have to make adjustments. Cities have to do certain things, and our city made adjustments along the way. They had drop boxes outside. They had the a combination of the drive-through window here, and so they were utilizing the drop-off window for multi-use, so they could get information to the right people, get people's bills paid, get work orders in, and even some building code issues. They were taking all of that through the drive-through, and that's what's here in this building. We had Public Works, who is in a completely different building,
and utilities,
another one. So you've got all kinds of things happening, and organizing, and then
Parks and Rec,
spread
all over because you've got the centers.
And it's been a long time since one mass shut down Parks and Rec, and that shut our parks down. Okay, and there's a difference between going in and updating a park and cleaning it up or shutting it down for a day. That was a mass shutdown across the scale. That was governing everything and making sure everything was done. And also, it was part of this, how do we open them all back up at the same time? Because you have to be prepared.
You have the question of how much cleaning should I do?
Right.
Am I to pay somebody to go out there and clean it every morning, every night? Am I going to do it once a week?
Right.
How do you
Nobody's
know?
using it. So
should we put the cleaning supplies there for each individual to clean after themselves?
Absolutely.
How do you do it?
Right.
I mean, we had to work through it. And sometimes you choose one way and find out, that didn't work, and then you revert and go a different direction.
So this is my little bleep out there for people who are going to the parks and people who are out and about now. The number one thing that everyone must remember: hand sanitization. If you're not,
self accountability.
Self accountability
too.
Take
care of yourself.
And I like that because you really have to understand. And I've had these conversations now quite a bit, even with friends who have 3 vaccinations and they're in bed and they've been in bed for a week with COVID, and the difference is they're home in bed for a week. Yeah, it's miserable.
Instead of the hospital.
But they're not dead.
Right.
And they're not on a vent. And yes, he had 3 vaccinations, and I hope he gets better.
Well, people who get the flu shot get the flu too.
Yes, they do.
You know,
Yes,
but
they do.
it helps that immune system. It helps kick it out
Right.
quicker. So it doesn't mean you're not going to get it. Same way with wearing a mask doesn't mean you're not going to get
Exactly.
it. You know, but
I've seen people wear the mask, and first off, it's a piece of paper. It's not an N95. Healthcare providers, they understand this stuff. It's something to wear that is preventing germ spread. Because first and foremost, if you forget to wash your hands and you're taking on and off your mask that's now full of germs that you're breathing in and out and touching the outside of it, putting it in your pocket, pulling it out, every time you do that and you bring it up to your face, what are you doing?
Yeah, but you guys in the medical field, you've done that all your lives.
All the time.
That is procedures that you've done all the time.
It is
not because this came about.
And I talked to, my wife is an instructor at STC, one of our really technical school. She's in charge of the nursing program at Northport as far as the teaching side of it. And, we had this conversation actually this morning because I've got 25 years medical. Yeah. And so I've been in ICU, I've been in OR, I've done all those things. In OR, you dress accordingly. And, the one thing that people tend to forget about is that your eyes are open. Well, you can get COVID through your eyes.
Oh, I see where you're going.
Yeah. Like, so, just because you have a mask on your face doesn't mean that you're going to prevent anything. If you really want to prevent the spread, put a mask on, N95, and put a shield over your face or goggles on so you don't get any spray in your eyes because you can actually get it that way. We never addressed those things because it's easier to shame someone with not wearing a mask. We've gone from this relationship, and this isn't the only topic we do this on. We were talking about that before, where people pick a side, and it's one side or the other. There has to be some graciousness given.
Exactly.
And I'm going to roll this back to you guys because there are I'm going to say this, there are 5 really strong-headed commissioners. But they learn how to get along because there's compromise within. There's decision making that has to happen. And you guys do that all the time. Because if you were infighting all the time, what would get accomplished?
Well, we're non-partisan.
Right, I get it. Well, no, but
so we're not standing on those blasted platforms.
There are no principles.
Because that's usually what divides the people is
true.
Those platforms of principle and, oh my goodness, I can't budge from that. I can't move. I have to stay staunch. And that's why we're in the shape we're in. Right. People are not compromising. They're not looking at the good. I mean, look at what we were talking about, the bills.
Yep.
I mean, they either need to make a bill where it's only one topic and you quit adding stuff into it, or that line veto.
Yep, line item veto.
Exactly.
See ya.
Yeah.
So
something needs to be done because all they do is dig their heels in. No. And come on.
Yep.
No, that one doesn't matter. This one we'll tackle at a later point in time. I mean, we do that on the dais. Get a topic and, it breaks down into these smaller pieces. And then we're like, okay, we need to bring that one back. That deserves a discussion of its own.
I'm really curious, and I haven't done the research on it, and I haven't really watched any of the videos. I try to not. I've turned off cable, so I don't get news anymore. I don't do any of it anymore. But I watch a lot of things on YouTube, and I try to, and that's not always 100% accurate. So social media and YouTube, everything is a lot of personal influence now versus good sound reporting. It's
rare.
It is rare. It is so rare.
Different than when we were growing up.
A whole lot different. You don't have the Walter Cronkites anymore.
They didn't give the commentary. If they did, they said, this is the commentary. Yeah, exactly. And you knew that they were speaking for themselves. Now they speak for themselves like, that's the news and you're supposed to believe it.
I was watching it the other day and not the other day, but I watched it bleep the other day for the end of a show on Facebook or YouTube. And it kind of caught my eye because I don't know that I ever listened as closely to a end of a supposed new show. But thanks for watching the show. I think we all need to remember ratings dictates a lot of verbiage that comes out of people's mouth.
It said that? They said
Yeah,
that?
thanks for watching the show.
Wow.
Well,
And then stated that.
Yeah. Well, they didn't state
Oh, they didn't state that
ratings.
part. They just said thank
Thanks
you.
for watching the show.
Oh my
And I'm like,
goodness.
it's showtime.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take anything to realize that common sense sometimes tells you that TV's channels, every movie I've ever seen talking about a TV station, including Mary Tyler Moore and Lou and all those, they were talking about ratings.
Oh yeah.
Well,
That's what makes the money.
that's so the world goes around because of ratings, and a lot of times the
Now ratings and likes.
yes, like it's the same thing. It's
Same
just called
concept.
a different word.
Yeah, same concept.
So it's interesting to watch what happens on a national scale. But then, if you are blessed enough to be like myself, and I've been involved with Norfolk for 22 years, and I've been around city commissioners most of that time. Been in City Hall, did a presentation in City Hall.
Do you remember how we met?
I don't. No, actually, was I part of the boosters? And I came
Yes,
to
sir.
came to the.
I walked into a booster meeting and joined.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's how we met.
So yeah, but that was a business
I've been
owner.
Impressed ever since.
Thank you, and I'll pay you for that later.
Okay.
So that's funny because that was a business owner coming to the
Yes.
athletic boosters.
Yes.
And that was when we were trying to get the athletic boosters really established
Build
and
up.
entrenched.
Yes.
Those were two really great years. And that was before the economic downturn that we saw.
Oh, that was during it.
Yeah, well, it was toward the beginning of it.
Exactly.
And right into it.
Yep.
Yes.
2009.
Yes. So it to me we get we get out of our city what we put in.
It.
Okay.
Agreed.
And I've watched, and I've been a huge proponent of, I don't care how you vote, learn to vote. Get out and vote. Then learn who to vote for.
Yeah, educate yourself.
Learn how to vote first.
Please.
Well,
Please educate yourself.
I would
first.
like that. But I think we have to break a habit. And if you just learn where the poll is in your neighborhood,
yeah.
And if you learn that you can absentee vote, now you can actually educate yourself. But if you don't have the habit of voting, it's never going to do any good. And there's a lot of people that I talk to within our own city that just don't vote on anything.
Yeah.
And they're like, I just don't want to waste my time on it. Well, explaining to people what the value is of a vote doesn't just happen on a local level. That news travels all the way to Tallahassee.
Have you ever thought that maybe that person who says I don't have the time, they're really meaning I don't have the time to study, to vote, education,
Yep. Educate myself on the vote.
Exactly. That part's sad. I mean, we are nose to the grindstone all the time in America. Work, work, work. And that's sad because we aren't being educated on what is going on within our communities so that we can vote knowledgeably.
If you had the newcomers in one building, we do, don't we?
Yes, we do.
I think we're missing an opportunity, and I've been to newcomers. I think we need to grab a mic every once in a while and just remind people who are new to our community or the ones that are there. You need to understand why you're here, and the best way to participate is, first off, get involved by voting.
Well, actually, I mean, we should have the election office there too, but we as the commissioners, since I've been on the commission, have had a table there, and we educate them on the type of government, what advisory boards, answer questions. So we do a lot of education there
So,
ourselves.
so you just said something, and we're going to start this year out with one. We had dialogue about the COVID event, but what is an advisory board, and what's it mattered?
It is a higher platform for the voice of the people. Uh, Oftentimes, we want to hear more input than the emails or whatever. So if you have citizens who value more um, a certain topic, value it highly,
Mm-hmm.
maybe they've got experience in that field. Get on that advisory board. They can give us help, aid. We can pose a question to them. So it's a higher level of input and voice than just being the citizen going to the poll.
And it really doesn't have to be a 40-hour work week when you get involved in an advisory board, correct?
No, it's not. Most of the time, it is just a once a month meeting, but some of them do have task forces because they're wanting to find out more information. We've got a task force right now that's looking at the military or veteran park that we're going to be building. So they're gathering information of what kind of parks come into that. Um, Commissioners don't do that.
Right.
We don't bring five different ideas and sit there and haggle it out in a public meeting. That is that board, that task force. They're collecting it, they're reviewing what they like, don't like, and then it will come to the commission.
Well, I'm actually. This is now. I think we're going on like 2 years now of meeting with city commissioners. This might be the start of our third, but to me, that's really the first time we've talked about advisory boards and the importance of them. And it does carry a lot of weight when you guys are making decisions.
It does. I mean, we have PSAB and the Zoning Board of Appeal. Those are two boards that you have to have in a city. It's regulated by state statute. All of the things that pertain to zoning in the city goes to PSAB first. We always look at what PSAB said, what they brought up. They might think of something that we didn't.
Right.
You know, in fact, the one on the tree ordinance, we're going to need to look at it more closely because somebody on PSAB brought something up that's vitally important. So we always look at what PSAB has to say. Now, it doesn't mean we're going to abide by, because again, it's five people.
Right.
Majority wins.
Right.
But we always care about what they have come up with. And the Zoning Board of Appeals, they're the decision maker.
Well, they can stop a project, right?
No, if somebody's doing something and the city says, nope, can't, like building a pool.
Right.
You got a pool out there and it's 4 inches into our,
Easement.
Exactly. And it's already built, and what do we do? So they go to the Zoning Board of Appeals and they look at basically whose fault, who made the error. City? Was it the builder? Was it the homeowner? And they make a final decision. Their decisions do not come back to the commission.
Wow.
It's done. They're the judge.
A little power.
That's a good power.
Yeah, well, it is. It kind of keeps things clean too.
And in that you look for people who can make those types of decisions. We have especially out in Welland Park now, we're getting a lot of people who have worked in government before, some of them within counties, planning. They are perfect to have on that board.
So now that you brought Welland Park in, we know just from news and different articles that are out there, they're trying to spin off and be their own city. Go ahead.
No, they're not trying to spin off to be their own city. The petition that came before us in April of this past year was they wanted to be absorbed into the county.
County.
Correct. Um, and that is a group. And their interpretation of state statute was, okay, all we got to do is submit these petitions and you have to let us vote. That is not, in my opinion, and some legal people's opinion, the proper interpretation. So they changed their petition because at first they just wanted certain HOAs in Welland Park to go out. They found an issue with that, so now they're trying to de-annex everything from the Myakka River west, not just Welland Park.
Well, that's a big change.
It is a whole huge change. I mean, it was brought in, that particular what Mattamy Home owns was brought in between 2000 and 2002. And the individual who owned Taylor Ranch at that point in time, they wanted a development. They wanted to develop. So it was county. I mean, that's why it has the Venice address, is because it was unincorporated county. Venice is way up the road.
Right.
So it was unincorporated, and so they went to the Sarasota County Commission to get the rights to develop. No. We want North County developed before South County. No. So they came to Northport and, hey, if we annex in,
I voted for that. So did my wife.
thank you, because it not only allowed them to be able to develop, but it aided the plan of our city. Remember, we talked about in '59 there was only 5.5 acres, and here comes all these annexations, and the people who first started it wanted nothing but retired people. I mean, you can hear the ugly stories of where they didn't even want family. They didn't want children. They just wanted retired people here. How do you sustain yourself as a city without having a commercial tax base?
Right.
So it was a win-win for both them who wanted to develop and for us so that we could bring in more of a commercial tax base. So that master plan is has to be part of who we are to balance for all of our citizens.
Well, and I want to throw some kudos because I tend to do that on this show. But I was driving up through, and the fire department that is now there, and I think it's a substation for police.
Is.
Yeah, that's what I thought because I saw the cruiser sitting out back.
And the county fire.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the beauty that I saw there was, and you're going to laugh, my favorite part of that whole building is facing 41.
Exactly.
And what does it say?
Public.
City of Northport.
Yes. Yeah. Well, it is. I mean, all that. But you have to know that Mattamy Home, the developer, loves Northport. We have, since that 2002, we have one document, one agreement, contract after another, building, working, and there's this gorgeous plan that's intertwined with everything Northport. The next building that's going to be going in is a city complex. It's going to be an annex for what we do here at City Hall.
And they need that. I mean, there's a distance between where we're at and there. We're
exactly.
I
mean, we're using our planners, inspectors are using their buildings as offices. We need our own.
See, I jokingly said this a few years back, and I probably said it on the air. I think we should have built a post office, taxpayer money, put it right there, handed it over to the post office, and said, correct the mailing. Because this whole thing.
That's not the way the federal government.
I understand, but you understand where I'm going.
I understand where you're going.
And
it's cute.
I know. But
you don't tell the federal government. I mean, you can actually them off
I
so
know.
bad. Forget about it for a couple more
But
decades.
we're where we're at because of an envelope, not factual truth. We actually have people that are upset because they don't want their envelope to say Northport. They want it to say Venice.
They anybody can put anything. They
I
can
know.
put
I've done it.
Timbuktu. Exactly right. They can put Timbuktu, so they can write whatever they want to for the city. They can put Welland Park, and it will still get to them. But it is the Venice Depot, and yes, there are people who are upset because they thought they were going into Venice and they were thinking incorporated Venice, but that's miles away.
Well,
It's surrounded by us and the county
right,
only.
right.
Inglewood's not close. Venice isn't close. It's just Northport boundary and the county.
And services aren't free
No,
because you're not part of the city of Northport. They don't become free because you're in the county. You still have to pay for services. And the county's not really set up to take over that responsibility either. That's why we annexed them 20 something years ago.
correct.
And so I think when you start dissecting some of these problems that you guys are battling today, to me, there's a whole lot of time now that you guys don't have to individually spend it, but we're having attorneys spend a lot of time.
Well, actually, we are only the appeal that we asked to go through. That is the first time that we have made a decision as a city to spend taxpayer dollars on this. All the others has been because of the petition, because of the court case going through. That wasn't our doings. We didn't ask for any of that. So this appeal is the first time that we have chosen to use taxpayer money.
Because you're doing that, why did you guys? Because there is a reason. Why did you guys choose to utilize that now versus not doing it that way?
I'm not understanding
The importance of now using taxpayers' dollars to defend that position. There is a reason that you did that, right?
Well, I can only speak for myself.
Right. Go ahead.
To me, it's the right thing.
And what's it going to do by spending the taxpayers' dollars? What do you want to see happen with that expenditure?
I want to see the state statute interpreted properly, and this city stay intact for what we have had since 2002 in mind, for a complete balance of the entire city. I don't like seeing the strategic plan of a city debunked. Just tossed out.
And there's
that is not feasible.
right. Well, and it's not feasible.
Nasty word.
It's funny because I think when you kind of step back and take in the whole picture, most people who are living there today did not see it 20 years ago. It was blank. It was a blank slate.
And there is so much on the horizon now. It is so gorgeous, and the plans are so. But I wanted to go back to the people who were misled.
Mm-hmm.
You and I had this conversation previously too, because it wasn't you guys who carry
the realtor sign.
Exactly right. It is salespeople for the
builders,
the home builder.
Yeah.
And they did mislead some of them. But again, it's due diligence. You have to be accountable for your own choices.
Eyes open for shoppers. That's
definitely.
It's one of those things.
Check out who's talking to you.
I've said this before, and I've said it to my customers, and anybody that's out there listening will know that. Any of my customers that when I had them in the car or my truck, and I drove them into each one of these builders, I told them exactly what they were going to hear. And the first thing I did before I walked them in the door is drive them out of the city and drive them back into the city. And I showed them the sign, and I said, "Where does that say you live?" And now I'll take you. Mm-hmm. Understanding where you live as a realtor is very important to me. So you
Yeah.
have a level playing field, so you understand everything that's going
But
on.
it is to you and those of you guys who have that quality and integrity of being honest and not just trying to make a sale. There's
Absolutely,
a
and
difference.
there's a massive difference, and whether you realize it now, if you're in the listening audience, there's a distinct difference between somebody who carries a realtor logo on their sleeve or even on their business card,
Mhm.
and somebody who works for a builder. They still have a license.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't realize that, but they group us all together because they're told, yeah, I have a license to. I had to take my test and everything through the state. Well, they hang it with the builder. They never have to do any more education. They don't have any code of ethics to follow. We do. We
Mhm.
have to do all of those things, and we have to keep them updated. And part of that whole thing is trying to educate people on cities. We battled that
It's
even
hard.
on Price
Yeah,
Boulevard
it's
because we've
hard.
had people say, "Well, my realtor never told me that a boulevard was going to be 4 lanes."
Yeah.
Well, okay, now,
Or
yeah,
that I had a septic tank.
right. That I had a
I
septic tank.
had one tell me that. But I can't, even though it comes down to the individual, you know, making sure of their own. Uh, I would probably been in the same boat as some of the others. I am, I listen to people and I take them their word for what they say, and I probably would have been duped. So I have no ill towards somebody who was told that. I feel sorry for them, but it doesn't change the reality of that's Northport.
Absolutely, and hopefully things will work out because there's a the due diligence that goes into doing that whole project up there, not just from the vantage point of a builder or Publix or any of the other uh, restaurants or anything that moves in there. There's a even the Atlanta Braves to bring the Atlanta Braves here was instrumental too to really anchor that whole community and really draw in
The region.
yeah the region. But people need to understand that that's a tax draw now. You've planned.
We put in 4.6 million into 4.6 or 4.7 million as surtax. So that was nobody's property tax. That was the penny tax. That's all we put into it. That is a 30-year contract. We give no more money. And we are announced all over the world. We have the world champions in Northport.
Absolutely, we do.
What kind of marketing dollars would it take to, throw that type of stuff out? But never in 30 years do we put any more money to it. And then there's another 10-year extension that can happen at that point in time. Again, no more money from the city. That's it.
And and the city gets to utilize that property for different
Yes.
events.
And we collect in the penny tax and all that stuff. I mean, yeah, we're making money.
Well, when you project that whole area, it's not unlike the older sections. Okay, and I say that because in comparison, when you're projecting tax dollars and where it's going to go,
Right.
you're projecting the future. You're
Yes, you are.
collecting tax dollars here in the older sections because it's already here.
Right.
But we're also adding new here too.
Correct.
And we've got other sections of
You
town.
know,
Go ahead.
it amazed me. Um, I term out in November of this year, and this was also 2020 was the survey census, and every 10 years after the census, you have to look at your districts and structure them. You're not supposed to be more than 10% out of line. So I thought as much housing and stuff was going on in West Village, there would probably be enough people that they could have their own district within the city. Each district, I mean, we're going through it right now. Each district needs to have approximately 15,000 people in it. They're only not even halfway there. There's only like 7,000 per the
That's
census.
scary when you look at the growth.
But 7,000 is half of what you need for the district. So we still need part of the older section,
Mm-hmm.
and I am the District 5 commissioner. And so that older section that I am in still needs to be part of it, whether in 10 years or whether it will be before 10 years that they get another 7.5 or 8,000 people. But by that time, as you said, the rest of the city is growing too. So I mean, 10 years from now, they might have enough then to be able to have their own representative. That is the goal that I'm after. I actually submitted a map myself because I was trying to prep for that future, and allow them to have their own commissioner or representation. But in the criteria that they set up for the maps, I live in the Jockey Club. They were trying to keep the Jockey Club in District 5 because I live there. I'm out of here in November. So why are you? And the Jockey Club was divided between part District 4, part District 5.
Right.
All the other HOAs and deed restriction were all kept together. And I'm like, why are you doing that? Because my house is there and I'm out of here, before you even have the next election. I said, carve this, look at Biscayne, make that the mark, and that way you're prepping for the next time or the growth in Welland Park so they can, be their own district. Uh, it even made the ratio better, and it should work toward
and,
that.
and I'm going to ask this because I think that part of the beginning of our conversation was get involved. I, I believe that a lot of what we've gotten ourselves into with Welland Park is, I don't want to say poor communication. What I want to say is that there has been.
Can I interrupt and say something
go for
about
it.
that?
Go for it.
And there are probably people listening to this show who's like, Jill's talking too much. She shouldn't be talking about that. I mean, we were told to shut up during, all of the court cases and stuff. It's still going on. We are not supposed to be discussing and stuff. You know what that does to communication?
Shuts it down.
Exactly. So since those petitions were put in out, for this, we have not had town halls, that communication to go on. We haven't had it. With Jerome being in, and love Jerome. Yep. I mean, here we are at the next level.
Jerome, you're my target on the show next now.
He's awesome. He is exactly who we need, what we need for this point in time. He said when he even came to campaign, I will go. I will talk to them. That's what's needed. That is what's needed. I mean, I understand that when things are in court cases, you need to be careful, but you don't just stay shut up and not let them know what's real, what's right, what's the history that we just talked about.
And there's a narrative that gets driven only by one side.
Exactly.
And so that's why, and hence that's why we're here in the present day where we're at now, is because things just changed. But with what you're saying and the population that's there now, there's going to be some leadership come from the Welland Park area.
I want it.
And I think it has to happen.
I got my eye on somebody.
Well, that's nice. But here's the thing, and I'm going to say this out loud because I think it needs to be said repeatedly out loud. Once they are apart and they feel apart, they're not going to tear us apart. If you have to feel part of a city.
Well, another aspect that comes into this, and why I really want them to have their own district, is I can't get in out there. Those are gated communities. I cannot drive out there to even look around to see what's going on. Yes, I handle emails from them often, but um, I can't go participate. I can't be a part the way I can in areas that aren't gated. But if there was a person there behind the gates, changes it.
Yeah, and I think there has to be some give and take from the gated communities when you're part. Well, listen, when you know you're part of a city, even though you're going through this, you still should open communications and not build a wall. They
But
already got a fence. They didn't need a wall.
but a lot of the people coming, the new ones over the last year and a half, they are so open. I talked to them. A lot of them are in the chamber. Sat
Yep.
with some of them during Christmas, and beautiful people. And they're like this with the city. This is where I live. This is
Well, if
so.
you haven't been to the Welland Park area, you really need to go up there. You need to look at what's happening. And really, if you haven't been, if you live in Northport full time and you haven't been up 41, I'm amazed. First
Well,
off, second off, even when I drove up there the other day, just knowing now that that building was done and seeing the city of Northport on the side of the building, I was pounding my chest. I
okay.
just I was like, oh my God! One, it's a beautiful building, and two, it
The develop
blasts who we are.
the developers love Northport. They appreciate it. They embrace us. I mean, so of course they're going to say Northport
I can't
because
believe.
they love us. They love the partnership in what goes on. We have a great relationship with it, and they're going to be our downtown
They are. They are, and we need something like that.
within a year.
Yeah.
We're going to be doing some shopping.
Well, and that's going to be a good thing for the city, for the tax base of
Yeah.
the city,
Oh, huge.
and that there's my draw into the tax side of this and the planning is that you didn't just as a commission sit back and say, here, just do this and then we're going to give it away, because we're not really basing anything that we're going to do in the future on the tax dollars we're going to bring in, right?
It's a huge part of
Yeah.
our strategic plan of the city.
Right. And it's vital.
Yeah.
And you're talking about if you and I'm not saying that Northport would go away, but if you were to take a hammer to that right now, there's a huge consequence to that move, and you can't tell me that the county and the state don't realize that you you can destroy the city of Northport and harm it by taking that away.
Definitely.
And I think that's going to be something they're going to look long and hard at. Uh, I can't believe we got 2 minutes left.
All right. I want to, because I came out and I don't think I ever met with you while I was mayor, but
I don't think so.
I just want to, I mean, I just came out of being mayor last year, and that was the greatest honor. I mean, I already want to cry.
Go ahead.
Greatest honor I've ever had is representing our city in that position.
Well,
There's nothing can top it. I just thoroughly was blessed, and so proud of our city and our citizens.
I'm proud of you. I will say that. I've known you a long time. You've been a patriot of our city before you decided to be in politics.
Oh yes.
And you were involved and made yourself readily available. And I've watched. We always can say we never agree with everything, and that's okay. And that's the beauty, because we've entrenched ourselves in a good friendship.
Mhm.
And anybody who needs something from you gets the honest truth. And I commend you. It's this is not an easy job for anyone. All five
Why don't you
commissioners.
think there's nobody thrown their hat in yet?
I know. I'm like nobody wants to do that, but there's something to be said about serving the community.
Well, and that's the way I feel. I am a public servant. I am not a politician. I hate politics. But I have been involved in the region even before coming into office. So I was known as Jill. But to go out and represent the city as mayor, the respect that is given to this city, and I tried my utmost to never bring anything bad to this city. I tried to do everything with class, with professionalism, with integrity, with honesty.
Well, if you would have changed because your name was Mayor, I would have lost a friend.
Yeah.
Because you've been that person.
It took me 4 months to get used
Yeah,
to the
but
title.
you've been that person for a long time. So that's the bonus is we really appreciate it too, and
Well,
we thank you for your time and your
yeah,
service.
I just want to thank the community. I had some huge issues with Facebook, especially my commission page, and wasn't able to.
Go ahead and cut us off the air on live on the radio. This is John Rawlings with Remax Palm and WKDW Radio. Thank you very much, and you guys have a great day. We can stay live on Facebook, but go ahead real quick and finish what you were saying.
I was having some problems with Facebook and stuff, so I didn't get to thank the community as publicly as I wanted. So I wanted to be sure to thank them on your show.
Appreciate
it was just staff, the fellow commissioners, the citizens, the region, every board I have sat on. Very respectful, and it was awesome.
What are you going to do next?
My mother's not doing so well, so I'm
Sorry.
going to be taking care of Mom. We're going to play Snowbird.
That's okay.
And I want her, being in the position that I'm in, I cannot take care of her. So it's past time that somebody take care of her. So I will be caring for her, making sure her last days, how many ever there are happy, and that she has somebody watching over her.
And Snowbird where?
Michigan, of course.
Oh. See, I'm a Buckeye. I can't even say that word.
Oh, I'm only 20 miles off the Ohio line.
Send all your football players south. But isn't it strange how things tend to work out in life? Because I
love the roller coaster of life.
But when did you 40 years ago think I'm going to be mayor somewhere? Was that a vision?
No, never. It never entered my mind until that vacancy came up and we sold Patriot at the same time.
Right.
I did. When I was in my 20s, I did have a gentleman in a small town in Michigan, because I lived there 27 years. Did have a gentleman who said, Jill, you need to go into politics. You need to think of that. And I had a minister, a pastor, who served in the Kentucky legislation, and he would always try to interest me. My father was a town councilman in the little village that I grew up in, but no way did I see myself doing any of it, even though there was these people in my life who kind of, not until the vacancy came and we sold Patriot, and I'm like, the universe might be trying to tell me something.
Tell people why they should do, because politics today is not politics of 20 years ago. Tell people today why they should put their hat in the ring in a country and community, any community, don't care, because we all see what politics can do to a person through the process.
Well, the local community is nonpartisan, and that is where I would encourage anybody who cares about their community, especially those who have business background, have government somewhere else or whatever, yes, definitely, because you're going to understand and you're going to fit in very well because you're not playing that political team rivalry.
Right.
You're able to look at your community and what does it need. I remember campaigning. Oh boy, is that rough.
Yeah.
But I remember campaigning and they're like, Jill, so what's your platform? What's your plan? What are you going to do? And I'm like, all I do is care and I will do my best to do what's right for the community. Did not have an agenda, did not have a platform, just want to do the right thing. That's all I said. And I really hope that people see that I have done my best to do that thus far. And when I leave in November, my head's going to be held high because that has been my goal to have integrity, honesty, and just do the right thing.
So you're going to be on my show before November, I believe.
I did that so that I could speak with you before leaving office.
And
Yes.
that's gonna. I look forward to that show because there's gonna by November there's going to be a lot more hot topics on the horizon. There's going to be a future viewpoint that you're going to offer.
By November, uh, the acceleration of this city is going to be fast. So in October, I signed up.
Nice.
I'm gone in November. We can talk about that trajectory.
I look forward to it.
You got it.
Hug.
Yes.
Hug it out. I
You
love
smell
you.
good.
I love you. Thank you. Thank you. But this is John Rawlings with WKDW Radio Live on Facebook and YouTube. Thanks for watching, Jill.
Thank you.
You're a blessing.
Thank you.
You guys have a great day.